Ready,
Set.
Gamecast.
Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Ready Set Gamecast, a bi-weekly podcast about video games and ghost busting. Darian and Teddy crossed their streams, so we're joined by our special guest, both the gatekeeper and keymaster, MattAPlays.
That's me! Woo! I'm excited. I've never done a podcast before, but I was honored when you asked if I would be a guest in lieu of Teddy and Darian being gone.
Yeah. I know that you are a long-time listener, so I figured we'd bring you on.
Long-time listener, ever since the inception of this podcast.
Yes.
4 episodes ago?
Yeah. This will be the 5th, counting episode 0. So, Matt, how many ghosts are you afraid of?
Any number greater than 0, but based on proximity. Kind of like spiders, right? It's like, if I don't know the spider is there, it's totally fine. As soon as I see the spider, I'm like, you gotta go. I'm done with you. This can't happen. And I feel like ghosts, there could be one in this room with me right now, I guess, and I wouldn't know until I know, and then it's like, all right, you gotta go. Get out.
You gotta go.
That's, it could be a friendly ghost, I guess. Casper's a thing, right?
Yeah. I wrote that question expecting one very specific answer, and you really went sideways on.
What were you expecting?
None.
4?
I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Oh, okay.
The little Ghostbusters thing.
I'm not a huge Ghostbuster fan.
Wow, have you
Mostly because I respect ghosts.
Apparently. Have you ever had a ghostly experience?
Not personally, but I've watched Ghost Adventures and other shows like that, so I don't know. I went on some haunted hay rides before, and they were kind of creepy. Actually, I did go on a ghost tour one time, like a walking tour, and it ended in this creepy old church, and then the tour guide just leaves you, and we just sat there as a group for like 20 minutes. Like, what do we do now? The tour's over, I guess, and we're just in a dark church, and it's creepy, and it's supposed to be haunted. When do we leave?
When is the tour over?
It was like, you walk along, you go, oh, here's a location where this thing happened, and there's supposedly a ghost here. There's this, and after an hour, oh, we're in this church, and it's super haunted and creepy and terrifying, and goodbye.
Did he say, oh, I'm leaving, but
Not really.
Tour's still happening, or did oh, I'm gonna go take a phone call and never came back?
It was like, this is the last stop, and then they intro the place and then somehow disappear when everyone else, we're all just kind of like, where?
That's weird.
This is terrifying.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that's my ghost experience.
That is, that's more of a shitty tour guide experience, but pretty close.
I think it's part of the, right, that plays into it well, plays into the fear.
Yeah. Speaking of fear, not really, but what video games have you been playing, Matt?
No scary ones, because I don't like scary things, and that ghost thing was terrifying. I don't know, last year around Halloween I played some scary games, but this year, mostly, let's see, Destiny, which I don't even know if there's much to say about Destiny 2 at this point. It's been out for a month and a half. People have it's coming out on PC this week, so that's exciting. People seem to be happy about that. I'm not going to go play on PC. I don't want to that bad, and, I'm perfectly happy playing it on PlayStation.
There was some new Destiny announcement seasons. What's with that?
Oh, yeah. At TwitchCon, they had a panel, and they talked about seasons coming to Destiny, which it's sort of centered around your clan, but then also the events that come and go, like Iron Banner, and the faction rallies, and those type of things. Those are going to have different gear sets, I believe. And then the seasons will reset your clan rank, and then your clan will have to rank up again to get the weekly rewards that you can earn. But I don't see that going well with my clan as it is, since after week 3 or 4 we kind of stopped. Like, the Nightfall and the raid don't necessarily come up, Crucible doesn't necessarily come up, and there's 4 or 5 things you can do each week that would allow you to get rewards as a clan. And so that checklist doesn't get filled out, except for once every 3rd week. We might have a good week. So I don't know if seasons are going to really do much for us.
It seems like a lot of people who were very hyped about Destiny 2 have kind of moved on. I only know one person who's still every week they're on there doing the raid and stuff.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with the expectation of what Destiny 2 is compared to Destiny 1. So by the end of Destiny 1, there's 3 years of content essentially in this MMO-like world, and then you strip that away for Destiny 2, and so you're left with kind of a bare bones world again, and it's a new one, and you can't play the old stuff that used to be, in Destiny 1. Maybe they'll have that eventually, but it seems unlikely since they're on different planets for the most part, and it's set up a bit differently. I think another part of that has to do with, Destiny has always been an early September release. We're now in late October. We're in the meat of game release season, so there's a lot of other stuff to play other than Destiny. So I think that has to do with it too. Yeah. But there is definitely a group or something, there's a good contingency of players that were very dedicated to Destiny that are being very vocal about how unhappy they are currently. So
other than Destiny 2, what have you been playing?
I've been dabbling with Fortnite BR, which I think that one's been a lot of fun for, a free-to-play experience. I've been watching people play BRs on Twitch for years at this point. I watch people play, Arma BR, and then H1Z1, and then PUBG. So I was like, oh, as a console pleb, PS4 player, I'm so glad there's a BR I can finally play. Check it out, have fun. And I've found that, as a good 20, 30-minute experience, I can hop in, I can play a game. If I want to play another one, I can go again. But it fits that mold where it's, you hop in, play for a little bit, hop out, and I really tend to enjoy those, throughout the night or the day or the week or whatever it may be. So it fits in well, and then it's also, since it's free, it was like, oh, there's no risk to it, right? I'm not spending money on it yet. And I can, I don't know, play that now. New releases are coming out. I can still buy the new releases and have something to play in between. So that's worked out well.
To be clear, by BR, you mean Battle Royale.
Battle Royale, yeah. Fortnite Battle Royale. Sorry.
Yeah, you just kept saying BR without ever defining it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. See, I guess it's a new genre, right? It's with PUBG becoming so popular this year, Battle Royale is now a mainstreamish genre, which it's existed in mod form, basically, for years. And then H1Z1 had a official dedicated version of it, right? King of the Kill. But as a newish genre, yeah, Battle Royale, BR, so it's last man standing, essentially. You have one life, you're dropped in with 100 other or 99 other players, and you fight to be the last one. And I've won 2 so far.
On Fortnite?
Yeah, in Fortnite. I've won 2 in my career.
I played a couple matches, I think with you, of Fortnite Battle Royale, and I really like the building system of that, but I couldn't, I wasn't really into the combat itself, so that definitely made me want to try the or the PvE aspect of it, because shooting random zombies is going to be, it's not so high stakes that I won't care as much about solid combat, but the building is really cool in that game. Yeah,
I think that was it's a nice twist, right? On, it gives it a little bit of a differentiation between that and other BR games. And yeah, I've been tempted to try the PvE out. I kind of don't want to buy it because it's going to be free to play eventually.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think they were advertising a sale recently, and I was like, oh, maybe I should pick it up. It's like 40% off or something. It might be worth it, you know?
It's still early access, so you would be paying for an incomplete game.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess I have more faith in them in Epic than I do in a lot of other outfit studios making early access titles.
I would hope so. If they're gonna sell the full game, $60 game right now, I would hope that they like make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Overwatch?
Yeah.
All right.
Anything new there?
So Overwatch, I think we're in season 6 at this point for comp. I took leading up to Destiny 2's release, I took a bunch of time off of Overwatch, so I think it was about a month and a half, 2 months where I didn't play Overwatch, which had been the most played game for me since it had launched last summer, so summer of 2016. So that was the game I'd played most over that year, and I took a month and a half-ish, break, and then I've been getting back into it in the last 2 weeks, and I've had a ton of fun. Like, I forgot, I guess, how fun it was. It almost felt like, daunting to play it at a point, and it was like, oh, I'm just playing comp, I'm just doing this, but with the Halloween event going on, so it's, there's skins available and, other cosmetic items available, and there's the limited time arcade event where it's sort of a defend the point with you and 3 other players, and you're, shooting a horde mode style AI with bosses, which are other characters in the game.
Yeah, I kind of like the horde mode concept. I'm not that much of a full competitive player, so I kind of wish there was a horde mode all year round.
Yeah, I would like to see them, because they've experimented with PvE things in multiple events over the last year. So that specifically is one of the examples, and then there was the Tracer's first mission. I forget what the name of it was. But it was like, 20 years before current Overwatch was Tracer's first mission as an agent of Overwatch. And so it was like her, Reinhardt, Torbjorn, and Mercy maybe. But then the 4 of you again played together, and it was almost like a Destiny strike where you defended a point, and then you moved through 3 stages, attacked a certain point, and then escorted a payload at the end. And so it was kind of a combination of Overwatch mechanics in sort of a Destiny strike style setup, which is cool. But yeah, Overwatch has been a lot of fun. They just put the Mercy ultimate change in, and that was the latest patch this past week. So they changed Mercy because a lot of people were upset about the meta over the summer, where essentially Mercy is a healer, and she had the ability, her ultimate ability was to resurrect players within proximity.
Yeah.
And so this became a problem when there'd be a team fight, right? A 6-on-6 team fight. One team would win the fight, essentially, except for the Mercy. The Mercy would fly in, res the other 5 people, and then there'd be an identical team fight again, and the other team would lose. But then their Mercy would fly in and res their team, and you'd have another 6-on-6 team fight. And that became what every game essentially boiled down to, was a really long, drawn-out fight where somebody would constantly be resing their whole team.
Nice.
So they took that ability away, essentially. They made it a cooldown ability where she can only res one character at a time.
How long is that cooldown?
It's a 30-second cooldown. So she can do that once every 30 seconds, and then her ultimate ability now gives her 2 charges of that, so she can do it twice. And she can fly around in the air with her gun out if you want, or healing, or whatever you want to do. But she's kind of, I forget what the name of it is. It's not Valkyrie, because that's her flying flying to other teammates ability, but she can freely fly around the stage now, or the map, and is super buff essentially compared to what she was. So that ultimate change came, and then they tweaked it a little bit. So in this latest patch, they just tweaked some stuff to balance it a little better, because she was like super OP in her ultimate when she was using her ultimate. They also gave Lucio his speed back. Apparently there was some thing where at one update at some point where he would wall ride, and he was significantly slower than he used to be, so he just got a speed buff back when he wall rides again, which is cool. Lucio's a lot of fun to play with. That's probably enough about Overwatch other than that,
You got other games.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about Golf Story for a second, because this one's on the list of games I've been playing, but it's kind of a lie.
Okay.
I bought Golf Story I think like 2 days after it came out or something. It's on Switch. Neat little golfing RPG indie game. And I played about 15 minutes of it. I was like, I'll bring my Switch to bed. I'll start playing it. I got, into the tutorial basically. I did some golfing, got kind of through the tutorial, went through the intro sequence, and then went to bed. So I played about 15 minutes of Golf Story.
So how was the little bit of golfing?
It feels good, I don't play a ton of other golf games. I played Mario Golf on the GameCube and N64, and other than that, I don't know that I've ever really played other golfing games. It controls fine. It's pretty intuitive. I am looking forward to getting time to playing it, sitting down and actually playing it. And part of the reason I haven't been is because I've been playing Mario Cross Rabbids, which came out in August, I think. Mid to late August.
It's been out for a bit.
It's been out for a bit, yeah. And that's a Switch exclusive. It's made by Ubisoft, but it stars Mario and Rabbids. And it's a turn-based strategy game in the style of something like XCOM, which when I played XCOM, I really didn't enjoy it. I played XCOM for a couple hours. I bought it on sale because it was, 2 years old or something at the time. Had not a great time with it, but Mario Rabbids is the same game with Mario things going on and incredibly, casualized version of that. So the combat and the abilities and the upgrade trees are all much simpler and, targeted towards me, apparently, I guess.
How far into the game are you?
I've completed one of the 4 worlds with perfect... I think there's 4 worlds. But you get star rankings, so they do sort of I guess I'd call it like a mobile game thing, right? Where you get, you got 3 stars on your last... I guess it's a Mario thing, though, as you're collecting the stars or whatever, but it's not, you're just getting rated on how well you did. So you did it in 4 turns instead of 6 turns, which was the set number you had, so you got 3 stars. So I went through the first world, which is 10 levels, and got perfects in all those. I found the secret area in the first world.
Ooh.
And I got a silver instead of a gold. So not a perfect, so I have to go back and do that. But there's also challenges after you beat the world, so I've been going through and also doing the challenges in the first world.
So you want to get perfect before you proceed?
Yeah, I don't know why, because I'll never beat the game if I continue at this pace. But it's for some reason, it's okay, there's challenges, so I have to go back and backtrack and do all those before I move on. Otherwise, for some reason, I'm not satisfied.
I hear the game gets really hard as you go through, so that you might have to give up on that dream later on.
I might, yeah.
I watched. I'm not ever gonna play that game, but I wanted to see how it ended, and just the final boss battle of that thing looked insane. So good luck when you get there.
All right. I mean, who knows if I will?
Yeah.
When other things come out, who knows? I got Mario Odyssey pre-ordered, so that comes out Friday. I don't know. I'll get there eventually. It might be 3 years from now, but I will eventually beat Mario Cross Rabbids.
Just in time for the sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's...
What about you, Bryce? What have you been playing?
So I've still been playing Fallout Shelter, which it's hard to really describe that as playing. I check in once in a while. I send the people off on quests. It's definitely slows down as you get farther in. Like, I really haven't built a room in a while, and I've just been raising the stats on my people because I can now build rooms that can raise everybody's stats. So it's just slow going, and we'll see if I fall off on that pretty soon. A really cool game that I've what?
Oh, what do you play Fallout Shelter on?
On
device?
PC. On PC.
Oh, on PC.
Yeah,
okay,
the Steam version. Because I have streamed it a little bit. It's a cool little game to play on stream of in between rounds of other games. I know Darian likes to do that she'll do League, and while she's waiting for another match she'll pop in and stuff. So it's a cool little deal.
I'd like to see that on Switch. I think that would be a really good fit.
Everything should just be on Switch.
Yeah, that's true too.
But a cool little VR game I've been playing is Cosmic Trip. It's a VR first person, which it's VR, so that kind of seems obvious, but RTS. So you are in the world, and you're building little machines to you gotta build a little robot factory, which is kind of just a little almost small stand like thing. Then you gotta build a battery, stick the battery in, and then start popping out robots. And then you've got worker bots, which will mine nearby resources, and fighter bots. And then you'll get attacked, and you're kind of within this world, and you've kind of got little nodes on the map that you can travel between. And this is on Vive. So everything is going to be within arm's reach. You're not going to have to move around too much. Vive games do have room scale. Or not all Vive games, but Vive does offer room scale where you can actually move around your room and you'll move around in game. Which Oculus, I believe, supports that too. PlayStation VR does not. And the cell phone headsets do not, because they don't have any tracking things.
When you say first person, then are you, because you were describing the robots and having the workers, so are you on the ground with them? Or is it still like a God mode view?
You are in the world. So when you get attacked, they've got these giant kind of tire monsters. He'll roll up as a tire, and then he'll kind of spread out, and have basically the tires will become his shoulders. And I've had him inside of me, just and you also have these weapons that you can attack the enemies yourself with. So I've kind of had the monster in my face, just swiping at it wildly, hoping my boss can fight off the other guys around me. It's very cool.
That's an interesting kind of perspective on it, I guess. It's you're the Warcraft 3 hero in that situation.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It's also super hard. It seems that the enemies, it has different modes, but I've basically just been playing the strategy mode, which is kind of the normal mode of you have to go to their base and destroy the heart of the enemy. So you can set up bases anywhere, but there's only certain resources along the map. And it seems like the enemies can build faster than you can. So it seems like you kind of need to just drop your stuff and just move as quickly as possible. Because I played for a match of an hour or two, and just slowly building up forces, and then by the time I was ready to attack them, they just had massive forces and I couldn't really make headway. They took out my bots too quickly, and then I was down on resources. So like, I was like, okay, maybe if they can build so quick, maybe I will just go attack them myself. So I just like jumped node to node and went straight to their base, and I got decently in there, but they're even starting off, their base is pretty well defended. So I think there's probably some in between ground of I need to like get close to their base and build up there instead of starting far away. And then so it's a very cool experience. If you have Vive, it's definitely a must play experience.
I don't play a lot of VR stuff, or haven't really dabbled much. I have the Gear VR that comes, like, it came with my phone back when I got my phone, but I haven't really, I don't know. VR looks cool. It doesn't seem like it's that useful yet. So, like, as far as playing things easily, you know?
I'm like, I kind of have to clear out my room to do Vive games, to do them well. I mean, there's definitely Elite Dangerous is a space sim game which offers VR support, and so I just can put on the headset and play with a controller, and it's cool to like see it in all around you. So there's experiences that offer that, but in my opinion, the best examples of VR are room scale, where you can literally move around the room and it feels like you're really there, which does require a space that will allow you to do that. But like I've had the cell phone VR, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But then it wasn't until the Vive that I was like, no, actually, like, this is the future.
Yeah. That thing stinks. This is very cool. Yeah.
Well, now people are like, oh, I've tried VR. I did the little like cell phone limit. No, you didn't try VR. You stuck your phone in the thing. It's all right, but like when you're like chopping at tire monsters that are in your face with your controllers, then you're doing VR.
Yeah. That's VR. Tire monsters in your face.
And I also played this interesting indie game called The Shrouded Isle. I talked about it a little bit at the on the last RSG. It is a game where you are a cult leader in like old-timey medieval times or whatever, and apparently the dark god is coming back, and you need to make sure the people of the village are like worshiping and on, like, if there are doubters in the village, the god's not going to come back. So you have to.
Oh, okay. So you have to.
Yeah, you have to. It's a lot of like management of bars. Like, you need to pick an appointee from each family, and they're going to be in charge of different things like fever, ignorance. Like they're kind of like straightforward of like, hey, you're on the wrong side of so if people are like too smart, that's bad. If
yeah.
So you got people in charge of book burning and all this stuff.
That's awesome. That sounds so fun, actually. Like, because you're just trying to get that 100% right alignment with your thought or whatever you're trying to push.
But each season you need to sacrifice somebody, and you have to sacrifice one of the appointees that are like, so you're head of the church or whatever, and then you've kind of got these 5 people, one from each family, that are your governors, and they're governing each aspect of the religion, of book burning, of just being really excited about the god, book burning, and those all manage different bars, and you want every bar to be high. But then at the end of each season, you have to kill off one of your appointees because the god requires sacrifice. And it's supposed to be a sinner, so you have to be like, oh, I killed him because he was a pervert or because he did this stuff, but you have to be able to prove that he was this. So you kind of have to like research your appointees, and or else if you sacrifice them without, like, you can sacrifice any of them, but then the family that they're from is gonna be pissed off because they're like, hey,
okay.
you just killed Bill. What Bill doing? Just like, oh, it was bad. Just don't worry about it. And if the family
he frowned.
yeah, and if the family gets too pissed off, they might revolt against you. So you've got like all of this stuff to worry about. And what's also like, so you want to appoint at least one shitty person.
Because you gotta off them.
Yeah, so you got to kill them. But at the same time, so if you appoint a pervert to like be in charge of stuff, that's going to bring down the bars because he's out spreading his bad messages. So it's a lot of like, okay, I need to pick this guy because I need to kill him. I need to prove that he's bad. But I also need some really good people who are on message, and it's really complicated. I haven't finished it just because, like, I got through 1 year. You've got to go through 3, I think. And it was just like, man, there's a lot going on, and like, I'm just like, please don't revolt on me. Like, well, your guy can live. I'll go kill this other family's guy. We're gonna be good.
So can you manipulate them? Like you can negotiate, right? You can be like, don't revolt on me. I'm gonna go after this guy. But like, can you manipulate? Like, you're like, I really don't like this guy, so I need to make him do something so I can justify getting rid of him.
No, okay. They come with their qualities built in, and they start off like you don't know what their qualities are. You might have like an idea of like, oh, this girl whispers to herself a lot, or like it'll say like a little rumor about them, or like this guy's been very active in the church. So you'll kind of have an idea of like, oh, this guy's probably gonna be on message. Or be like
on brand.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, this girl's been talking out a lot, and be like, she's probably bad, but then you have to like actually investigate her enough to prove that so you can kill her off. And it might just be like, and it might just be like, oh, she reads a lot. She might not actually be like straight up bad, like murder, or like bad enough that you can justify killing her to the family. So you just be like, because when you select someone to kill off, they will show like, okay, this will increase this bar, but the family might be a little bit pissed off because like the thing that they did wrong wasn't that bad. So it's definitely like the pervert. I managed to prove someone was a pervert and kill them off, and that was like the one time that everybody was like, okay. We get it.
Good job,
like,
you did it.
Yeah, this is the
Everyone
one.
applauds. Yeah,
this is the one we're allowing you. The family's okay. So that is the games of the last few weeks. Let's get into the news, starting with some pretty big news. Humble Bundle has been acquired by IGN. If you don't know,
media giant.
Yes.
Media giant, according to the headline.
Yes. So Humble Bundle is a store where people started off as just like a bundle of games that like different indie developers offered their games together in one bundle, and you could select how much you wanted to pay for them, and then like portions of the money could go to charity or to the developers. And it was definitely a great way for indie games to get out there and for the people to help charity and all that. And since then, they've expanded. They have their own little store. They also publish games. They have something called Humble Monthly, where you can sign up and get like 5 or 6 games every month from Humble. That's where I got the Shrouded Isle. So the Humble Bundle does a lot of stuff, and it kind of just came out of left field when IGN just bought them up. So
Yeah.
an interesting thing from that is Hat in Time. The review from that came out from IGN, and at the top they had to include IGN Entertainment, IGN's parent company, recently purchased Humble Bundle, the publisher of A Hat in Time. This technically makes us the publisher. We didn't know about that when this review was written. Humble Bundle and IGN operate completely independently, but going forward, all Humble Bundle published games we cover will have a disclosure regarding our relationship, and will endeavor to use freelance critics to review them when possible. So that definitely like points out the kind of like conflict a review company owning a publisher can cause.
Yeah. So when I first saw this story, I was like, all right, that's a real non-story. People seem to be blowing this up. Humble Bundle, you're buying these games that are already out, and you're donating some of the money to charity, and you're giving some directly to the devs, and some goes to Humble. You can divide it however you want.
Yeah.
And that would have been true if, they hadn't updated since 2012, because apparently that's the last time I looked at what Humble Bundle actually was. And then it was like, oh, they have a storefront. Oh, they publish games. Who knew? I like being generally aware of things. I feel like I still missed that at some point. I didn't know they had like the full storefront, and then I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. IGN wants to have their links to a store they own. That's fine, But then it's like, oh, they also have a publishing initiative. I see where the issue is now and why people are concerned. And that's like the crux of it, right? That's any review now where they've published the game.
Yeah. I mean, even as a store, like Humble Bundle storefront does not have every game in it. And what's actually cool is like sometimes you'll get DRM free copies of the game and Steam codes, or just DRM free copies from the Humble store. But yeah, they're not as big as Steam. They only have certain stuff, and they kind of if you buy it from Humble Bundle, you'll probably be getting a Steam code with it.
Okay, so they're still sourced through other, so it'd be like Good Old Games or Steam or something.
Yeah.
Or I guess PSN or Xbox maybe even.
Not more closer to Good Old Games than anything else. Because it's only certain stuff. But the Humble will have its relationships with developers and all of that. Like Hello Neighbor, which is an indie game.
Yeah.
Coming out. That was available. You could play that before release only if you bought it through the Humble store.
Okay.
So yeah,
that game is published by what's their name with the orange logo? Tiny Build, right?
Oh,
they're published by Tiny Build.
I think so. So,
but there are store exclusives, so I guess
yeah,
coverage of that.
Yeah, it's definitely very muddy, and we'll see. Like, it's very weird that like if all the people who would buy Humble, and I didn't even know anybody was looking to buy Humble or Humble was looking to be bought. It just kind of comes out like IGN, a review website, bought a storefront. It's like, okay. So
yeah, if it had been the other way around, would it be as questionable? Like, Amazon or Google, like Amazon owns Twitch, right?
Yeah.
And Twitch is sort of a game outlet, right, of sorts, that you can watch somebody literally play a game and go, oh, I do want to buy this. Well, and at this point in time, there's now links to Amazon directly through that Is it the same? Is it as egregious?
I consider that muddy as well. I mean, does the fact that you can buy certain games, the streamer can make certain or money if they play certain games, does that influence the games they play and thus the games people are seeing? And thus,
Yeah.
if I'm playing a game that can be bought through my stream, am I going to talk shit about it? Or obviously, I don't care. But some people are going to push their game on their stream that they would not otherwise if they couldn't make money off of it. So things are getting very muddy with different types of businesses being owned. Storefronts owning promotion ways. So it's very muddy right now, and it's interesting how this is all going to play out.
Yeah, I think ultimately it kind of plays out though where like IGN as the big company says, we're aware that there's a weird, conflict of interest essentially.
Yeah.
But because of the way our business is established, those things never overlap and will never overlap.
Yeah.
Right? So and that's true of like GameStop publishes games now, right? And they're a retail outlet, and I guess Xbox and Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have published games forever, right? And it's like
I consider it more with Nintendo Power. Nintendo Power would be like a review. They were reviewing Nintendo games, so
yeah,
they probably gave Mario games the best review out of all the people. Probably every Mario game got a 10 out of 10 from Nintendo Power.
Yeah, and I guess that's the assumed thing going into that. That's like if you go to the PlayStation blog or you go to Major Nelson, right, and you check out what they're talking about, and it's often it's not third-party stuff. It's often, this is our Sony thing. We're pushing this Sony title or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's like, oh, Destiny, because there's an exclusive deal with Destiny for Sony to get exclusive content, and they'll mention that. So it's like knowing that the outlet is associated with it, and I guess that's a lot more clear on the Sony blog for the Sony platform. But, I mean, if they're going to disclose it, I think that's the best they can really do,
Yeah, I mean, if they're making efforts, the fact that they're saying that they're going to be freelance critics in the future, that's a very good step. And they'll have to disclose that all at the top. So at least it seems like that they're making efforts to have their reviews indicate that, like, hey, the fact that this is reviewed well will actually make us money.
Yeah. By the way, click that link below if you'd like to buy.
Yeah. So it'd definitely be interesting. The real question is, will it affect the games that they review? Would they be like...
Yeah, will you get featured content, right, of the games they're publishing versus, would... I guess they were gonna publish one for A Hat in Time anyway.
Yeah.
But, would that get preferential treatment and like, oh, we should publish this game rather than, a review about something else?
Yeah, I'm not sure if IGN's like covers every game, but Humble definitely caters more towards indie games. So, I'm trying to think if there's, Hello Neighbor was something that people could buy before it was even out. So are they likely to put a preview up that they wouldn't have if it wasn't actually out?
Right.
It's definitely interesting if it's going to affect their coverage or not, but I mean, there's other news sources. If you're heavy into the IGN world, it's definitely something you're gonna have to take into account. But we'll see how that all shakes out in the future.
Speaking of other news sources, from EA itself, I guess. Well, there's an article from Kotaku, but ultimately there's also a blog post from EA.
Yeah.
About shutting down Visceral Games, which is kind of a big deal, right? Like they're, Shutting down a whole studio mid-project.
Yeah.
Generally unheard of. Usually it's like, okay, yeah, we shipped our title, we don't really have a plan, we have some DLC, it's been a year or whatever, okay, we close that studio.
Yeah,
it happens.
Sometimes the game will just do really badly, and it'll be like, okay, the studio, you're done, you failed, but nothing. We had not heard much from Visceral in a long time, and then bam, they're gone.
Yeah, just they were. I remember at E3, everyone. I don't know. I guess people I tend to be aware of in gaming related things were very excited about Visceral's game being shown right during the E3 block of EA's E3 block, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're gonna show the Visceral Star Wars game. They're gonna show this cool Uncharted-like adventure game that's in the Star Wars universe." And then there was nothing during their press conference. Supposedly or apparently, there was a behind closed doors preview of some sort. Like it was like just whether it was just a video or like a guided thing where you got to watch. It's kind of unclear because I'm not in that sphere. I'm not in the media, so don't really know. But apparently there was something there that you could see. So this thing existed in some form, and 3 months later they're like, oh, it's dead.
Yeah. So Visceral is the company who made Dead Space. I'm trying to think of what other big game franchises they had.
So after one of the Dead Spaces, I think it was Dead Space 3. It must have been, unless Dead Space 3 came out after. But they were put on Battlefield Hardline, which was at the time a really weird decision because EA Dice makes the Battlefield games generally, and Visceral was put on Hardline, which was the cops versus robbers. It's SWAT versus like heist type situations, and it was a weird assignment. It felt like it wasn't their type of game necessarily, or what they had been making right with Dead Space, and then they were put on that, and then Hardline didn't do great, I guess, from what I understand. I didn't play it. I don't really play the Battlefield games, but people, it seemed to be a blip on the map, right? It came and it went, and that was kind of like, why are they assigning them that type of game? Kind of doomed to fail in a way, it felt like. And then they put them on another project at this point, and then closed them mid project. Yeah.
I actually really like the Dead Space 1 and 2. I haven't played Dead Space 3. I played a little bit of Dead Space 3. They definitely added in like a second player, which definitely like lessens the scariness. Any multiplayer aspect just makes it less scary.
Did it get more actiony as it went on? Because I played Dead Space 1, and it was definitely like horror first. That was the feel. It was, there were jump scares. There was this unease throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it was definitely survival horror where you're just like holding on to every bullet. Like, I need to kill this guy, but I only have so many bullets. Oh, God. But yeah, it definitely gets more actiony, especially the third game. It I think feels most actiony, but like I loved 1 and 2. They are my favorite scary games because you're not like running away so much. Everything you're fighting everything, but it's always every moment feels tense because you're always low on resources, low on health, just barely getting by. Which is great. So I love that type of experience. And like a week ago, I was thinking, oh, Dead Space. Like I would love to play Dead Space right now because it's like Halloween season. I wonder if they're gonna make another one. Yes, not.
Probably not. I mean, you may see an offshoot, like a small scale indie version, right? At some point, with however many people were at Visceral now unemployed, if
Yeah, well,
some group of them wanted to make that style game. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
with
but
the way the market works at this point.
It wouldn't be Dead Space, it'd be some other thing.
No, yeah, it'd be like Space Dead.
Yeah.
Please don't sue.
But like you said, so with the closing of Visceral, EA made changes to the Star Wars game. It's still going to live, but in the way that a zombie is kind of alive.
Yeah. Well, you'll get a Frankenstein out of this game.
They are changing the scope of the single player Star Wars game to make it more open, and we are shifting the game to be a broader experience that allows for more variety and player agency, leaning into the capabilities of our Frostbite engine and reimagining central elements of the game to give players a Star Wars adventure of greater depth and breadth to explore.
Greater depth. Okay.
So they're making Destiny.
Yeah, right. They definitely, the fallout of that was, right, they're going to focus on multiplayer, they're going to focus on a living world or whatever, that you can experience with your friends, or a Destiny experience, yeah. And they moved it to Vancouver, which had already been EA Vancouver, whatever I don't know if they have another name for that studio, but they had already been working on the game, they said. So I imagine they were working on a multiplayer element of that game, while the Visceral was mainly working on the Uncharted story style set piece driven, game. So I imagine they, moved them to the studio working on the multiplayer stuff, and are then gonna have them follow through on that. What's really weird is that there are so many Star Wars games, I guess, in production, right? Like Battlefront 2 comes out in weeks.
Yeah, pretty soon.
This game's coming out never. And then Respawn Entertainment is also working on, Respawn, who makes Titanfall, they're working on an FPS version of something Star Wars related. So it's like, did they have just like too much going on with Star Wars? And like, I feel like Disney must have had some say in it, right? Well, I think EA probably would have put more money into it for a while, but like EA and Disney probably both have to agree, and then there's probably a lot of pressure with that.
I think EA has exclusive rights to the Star Wars right now. So I'm sure EA was just like, okay, everyone's making Star Wars. Star Wars is Star Wars. Let's get as much out of this as we can. And I mean, it seems like it doesn't specifically say in their press release that, hey, we're pushing multiplayer hard, but that's kind of what everybody's taken away from that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the original Battlefront was only multiplayer, and that was not well received.
Right. It was definitely mixed. It was like, yeah, man, this is fun. This looks great. This feels like you're in the movie. But remember Galactic Conquest in the original Battlefront games? Remember, the other modes there were? And so I think they're pushing for that with this one. And
I am most excited about Battlefront 2 for the single player. So, yeah. I mean, I've always been more of a story gamer, so multiplayer-only experiences don't really interest me. So the fact that they are killing off a single-player experience to make it more multiplayer just saddens me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. I don't know. I feel like some of it must be with like the actual Star Wars brand, and they're like, it's probably more difficult to tell a Star Wars canon story, because I think Disney was like, everything's canon from now on, right? That was the thing a couple years ago when they bought Star Wars. Yeah. And it was like, everything we do will be canon. So it's probably a lot harder to create a story that is acceptable across the board and still like features things about Star Wars that you'd be excited to see, whether it's cameos from characters or locations. And with Battlefront, it works well because it's like, all right, these are battles that have occurred in the history of Star Wars, and you're fighting them. So I'm sure crafting a story around that is relatively simple when you're a soldier in this battle, and these are the things you have to do, or, some variation of that.
That and the multiplayer aspect is obviously not canon because they've got the characters from the new movies fighting against Darth Maul. Right.
Don't remember some exceptions can be made.
But yeah, the single player aspect of that game is canon, and I'll be really excited to see how I hear it came together well. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm only gonna play the single player of that and just be done.
Just ignore the rest.
Yeah. That game, I played the beta and I just felt like I wasn't really affecting much with that game because I felt like I just died so quick, and each team has 100 lives, so it seems like you're just gonna die and come back so quickly that it was just
you have 40 on 40 and there's no nothing at stake kind of.
Yeah.
That's how I've always felt about the Battlefield style games.
Yeah.
All right, going from EA to another big third-party publisher. Did you have something to say?
Well, I was going from a game turning into Destiny to the company who makes Destiny.
An actual Destiny game. Activision researched using matchmaking tricks to sell in-game items. Not only did they research it, they actually were granted a patent. That was the headline was they researched, but they were granted a patent this month for a system it uses to convince people in multiplayer games to purchase items for a game through microtransactions. And that strikes me as all kinds of nasty and shady and the kind of stuff I would probably not want in my games.
So basically, you'd be matched with players that have better equipment than you, the stuff that you can buy. So
the example they give you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know why I just did that. I was gonna let you go. The example they gave you is the big spender, high end player. He's a model player. Got all the cool stuff. Looks really good. It's shiny and glittery. So you're going to get matched with him as some new guy because you'll look at him and be like, man, I want all the cool stuff he's wearing. I want the cool guns he's got. I want, to be able to play like he does. And that's the mentality behind it, right? Is we're going to show you the shiny, idyllic, this guy spends $1,000 a month in our game to you.
Yeah. It'll definitely push you. I mean, I don't know if Activision has any games speaking of Battlefront kind of has a card system that allows you to get actual in-game upgrades that'll make you stronger and stuff.
Yeah.
So being matched with someone like that would result in you going getting your butt kicked, and then you'd go, oh, maybe if I spent a little money, then I would be doing better.
Yeah. That's right, Bryce.
Yeah.
Show us your wallet.
So it's definitely super shady, and I know, and they have said that the only Activision game I'm thinking that I know offhand is Destiny, that has multiplayer. I'm trying to think of
COD would be another big one.
Oh yeah,
Call of Duty.
Does that have microtransactions?
Yeah, they have loot chests essentially. So you earn the currency, or you can buy the currency to then go buy the chests. Is how it's worked in the past ones.
Okay, so yeah, being matched with somebody who's got all of the loot chests, and then you just go okay, well, I can spend however many hours and try and get this, or I could just put in my credit card.
Yeah.
So yeah. Destiny, they've apparently come out and said Destiny won't be using really Destiny's system only to a certain extent. Like you can get some shiny equipment, but
Yeah.
it's not the greatest for using that system. But
It's
the
it's
fact that they're-
definitely just the psychology of it, right?
Yeah.
The idea that they basically got a patent on manipulating you,
yeah,
but I guess that's what all marketing is ultimately at the end of the day. It's like you see this ad and you're like, I want that thing for, some reason, and they've tapped into your psyche and figured it out.
I mean, it's one thing about like seeing a commercial, and another part with like, hey, you will be playing different games based on who spends money and who doesn't, which is so weird.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily you're playing a different game. It's just
just who you play with.
We're gonna show you these model players in our game so that you want to be them.
Yeah.
Not models like walking the catwalk.
These players are so pretty.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, knowing this is out there, I think whenever anybody gets matched with somebody, they're gonna think about that in their back of their head of like, oh, I bet this is because that patent they got.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting part of it too, right? Is this article breaks, and then the immediate the community manager of Destiny immediately retweeted it or responded to somebody's tweet like, this is not in Destiny. You know? And it's like the immediate we have to say this isn't in our game because it looks bad. The patent looks bad at the face value. It's just
I mean,
you have to apologize.
I don't think there's any value that makes it look good. Like there's no way that anybody's gonna be like, we love this. We're so excited about it.
Right.
Like, just match people, normally. Just, hey, whoever's available, let's play. I wonder if this will slow down matchmaking at all, or if they just it'll be the first thing they look for.
Yeah. When it's implemented well, you won't even know. Is the thing.
It'll be interesting. I
just thought of
what?
I just thought of other games under Activision. All of Blizzard is technically part of Activision.
Oh yeah,
because they're Activision Blizzard. So.
Oh, that can be really Overwatch. All those people with the skins. Oh, that could be interesting. Speaking of people being targeted by things, PlayStation has released such good segues this episode. Ooh. PlayStation has released a mini PlayStation controller targeted at kids. It basically looks kind of like a Nintendo Joy-Con.
It looks exactly like a Joy-Con with a lot more buttons.
It's basically the little part at the bottom of a PlayStation controller that you hold on to is just gone. So it's just the part with the buttons. And I guess it's so kids who have smaller hands will be able to press everything. And it also has a cord. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's wired. That was interesting. As I imagine that's to fit it in the size, maybe wireless Bluetooth technology or whatever.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Doesn't fit. Maybe
they couldn't fit a battery and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's probably the battery more than anything.
I mean,
I was thinking price-wise, I think these are only $30 compared to $55 for a regular controller. It's it might be worth getting it as a second controller.
That'll be the new player too. You get the tiny one.
My thumbs touch whenever I move.
It definitely looks super awkward. I know when my son was first playing PlayStation games, he had a little trouble hitting all the buttons. I'm not sure if this would help him or not. But it's kind of cool that they're trying to help younger gamers. When I think of PlayStation, I don't think kids games, but I'm sure the Lego Star Wars games, they're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's Ratchet and Clank is probably a kids game. I don't know. There's definitely room. I don't know. I guess you think of Nintendo probably, right?
Yeah.
You're like kids games, Nintendo, which
Yeah.
as a Nintendo fanboy, I must object.
Okay.
Nintendo games are for everyone.
E for
They're
everyone.
all wonderful, and you should all buy everything Nintendo. What?
Okay. Then.
Did it work?
Well, welcome to our Nintendo rep, MattAPlays.
It's like Shrouded Isle, but for Nintendo.
So, Nintendo rep, why don't you tell us about the hot new Nintendo news about...
Oh, the new hotness! The Switch update adding video capture. Yeah, there was already, you could screen cap with the screen cap button like every other console at this point in time. Now you can hold it and get a 30-second video of what you just played, and it works on Zelda, Splatoon, ARMS, and I think Odyssey. It works on just like 4 core Nintendo games right now.
Which is interesting that it just doesn't work with everything, but...
Yeah, I don't know if it's just there's an update required, right? And like devs will have to patch their games basically to allow it or something like that.
Honestly, I find it...
Yeah.
It not being in the system to begin with, I figured that like, oh, the Switch just can't handle it when they updated and then video capture is now a thing. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and it was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I can't wait. And I've already seen some really good videos of Zelda stuff coming up. Of like, in Zelda, there's these particular enemies you meet on the side of the road, and people are doing things where they're basically setting them up to die, and then going and talking to them, and the dialogue pauses the game world for the time being while you're in the dialogue. And then as soon as the conversation ends, they get like destroyed by like a giant crate or something like that. It'll just like drop on their head, or it'll shoot out of nowhere because the person set it up already. And so you're seeing cool videos already getting like passed around Twitter and that kind of thing.
Nice.
They also allow in this update save data transfers, which
that is huge.
It's huge, and it's also sort of a little odd the way that this one works. It's mainly for... It appears like it's for switching to another Switch, for lack of a better word, I guess. I'm just going to say Switch a lot. But if you have multiple profiles on your main Switch, your main Nintendo console, and you purchase another one, you can then transfer one of the user's data over to the other one without losing things, and then, they'll get Zelda, and they'll have their Zelda save file instead of having to completely start over, which was the case up until now.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. Like, say you, your partner and you share a Switch, but then she gets her own Switch, and she's like, oh, I guess I have to start over with Zelda. At least she can get her saves on her new file, but you can't just play on whatever Switch you want, which would be the ideal.
Right. There's no like game share yet kind of thing. I don't know if they'll have that.
Knowing Nintendo, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I'm looking forward to being able to transfer data between my SD card and my system, or multiple SD cards, like Switch to Switch, so I can...
Yeah, you're saying Switch a lot.
Switch to Switch, yeah. But basically between my SD card and my system, so I can, rework my memory in the way I want to. If I get like a new card at some point or something like that, I'll be like, oh, I want my Zelda save, or I want my, Mario Kart data always on my unit. My unit instead of my Switch.
Okay, then.
I don't know. Uh-oh.
So, yeah, that was a cool little update from Nintendo.
Yeah.
We'll see if future updates bring the amount of functionality to it. It's actually like, it's cool that they had a big update. I mean, the save data thing makes a lot of sense right now, because this is when kids will be getting their own Switches with holidays coming around. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
Another great holiday item people can buy is a Oculus.
Ooh. Ooh, spooky.
So Oculus has announced the Oculus Go, which is an all-in-one headset for $200, which is basically like the Samsung Gear VR, where you put your phone in to see the VR stuff, but this you don't have to put your phone in. It already has the headset or the screen in it, and it includes a Wii nunchuck style controller. So that's kind of a way to get a basic VR experience. No room scale type game. It'd just be you turn your head and you can look around.
I think it's a really good move. Like, it's almost at the price point where I'm willing to get one. It's not quite there yet. If it price drops, I'd be like, okay, that's better, because I have the Gear VR. I think I mentioned that earlier. And it's mostly just, you plug your phone in to the headset, and then you can watch something, and you can move your head around, and you're like, oh, wow, look at that. Wherever I move, my viewport moves, and I see different stuff in this world that's rendered around me.
Yeah.
That's neat. But this coming with a controller, I think, is huge, because on the Gear right now, there's a touchpad on the side of your head, basically, that you use to control if you need it. And this is its own unit, so like the screen's already in it, you don't need anything else, you're good to go. And it doesn't come with the 7 items that it comes with when you buy a regular Oculus, where it's like, here's a bunch of sensors, here's the controllers, here's some cameras, here's whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely... I mean, VR is something that you need to experience to appreciate. Just looking at a video of someone in VR is not going to do it for you, because it just looks like a video. You have to actually wear the headset and look around to experience it. So the fact that Oculus is really trying to make that as affordable as possible is great.
Yeah, it's like becoming marketable at this point with that sort of setup.
But speaking of the standard Oculus Rift, that has also received a price jump, bringing it down to $400, which I think makes it in line with PlayStation VR.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
that sounds right.
But this will include 2 touch controllers, 2 sensors, and 7 free games. You'll need to have a PC that's capable of playing those games.
That's the kicker.
If you already have that, then I mean that's going to be your most affordable option to play, full room scale style games. And
yeah.
And I heard the controller for Oculus is pretty cool. It's I think it's got full finger support, so you can like grab things with your hands and you'll grab them in game. Whereas
oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, the current Vive controller looks kind of more like a wand, so you just press the trigger to grab stuff. It doesn't have full finger support. They're working on a controller that will have that, but that's not out yet. So right now it seems like the Oculus has the better controller. I think all headsets share about the same 1080p specs and stuff. So if you're looking to get into VR, the Oculus is probably your best bet right now.
It's almost time.
Yeah.
I think PlayStation probably still has the lowest bar to entry.
Yeah.
I guess that now does with $200 price point.
If you're talking
but you're not going to get the same kind of experience, I don't think.
Yeah,
if
you're talking about coming from nothing, then PlayStation wins, because getting a PlayStation 4 plus the VR is cheaper. But if you already have the PC, then the Oculus will be cheaper, because with PSVR, if you get the $400 version, you don't get any games, do you? Or is it just like one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so
maybe there's one bundled.
Yeah, and then this will come with 7 free games. So, very, very cool of Oculus really putting their money where their mouth is to just really try and get it out there. Okay, that was the news. Let us get into the topic of this show.
Before we do,
yes,
can we take like a couple minute break and I'll be right back?
Okay, we're taking a break.
It'll be magic. When we come back, we'll be edited in. Okay.
Topic of the show.
Topic of the show.
MattAPlays. Are loot crates exploitive?
Of course.
Well, ESRB says at the very least they are not gambling. And
Sure.
And they say this, here's a quote. While there's an element of chance in these mechanics, the player is always guaranteed to receive in-game content, even if the player unfortunately receives something they don't want. We think of it as a similar principle to collectible card games. Sometimes you open a pack and get a brand new holographic card you've had an eye on for a while, but other times you end up with a pack of cards you already have. So
Yeah, and I mean,
that's true.
I agree with them on all of those statements.
But
They
when you are putting in money to get a loot crate, to get a trading card deal, you're paying money to get something that you are unsure about, and
you're paying for a chance to get a thing
that you want
in a pool of other things,
yes.
right?
Yeah. You clearly want one or a few of those things that you could possibly get, and you have no idea what it is, and you are paying for the privilege of pulling the lever and hoping to get something. And
right.
It could be something you already have, and for something like Overwatch, they'll give you a little bit of the money, a little bit of the worth that you put in back, but in no way are you it's a 1-to-1 deal.
I guess the thing I'm most they compared it to collectible card games. I think that's fair. That's a fair comparison. The thing I most liken it to, or first thought of when talking about is it gambling, is it not gambling, was scratch tickets, which I think are gambling.
Yeah, those.
I don't know.
Those would be considered
the lotto. The lotto's a gamble, but it's always weird because lottery exists, but gambling isn't always allowed legally in certain jurisdictions, right? Not everywhere can have a casino.
Yeah.
Which is at a casino you go and you gamble, but everywhere seems to have a lottery, or most places in the U.S. seem to have a lottery of some sort.
What I find interesting is the fact that because you always get something, that's not gambling. So I could set up
that too, yeah.
I could set up a thing where you have 1 in 10 chance to win $1,000, but if you don't win $1,000, I'll give you a rock. So you're getting something. So you're not gambling because at least you'll get a rock.
Yeah, you at least. Right, and I don't know if it's right, you're buying $10, you're buying a $10 ticket to win $1,000, but you lose and you get a rock essentially.
Yeah.
And it's that has to be a $10 rock. Is that the logic behind it? You get a pack of collectible cards and there's 10 cards in the pack. They are worth the $3 you paid for that pack. Or you paid for a loot box in a game and the drops you got, if you were to purchase them separately, would have cost you, $3 in real life money.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to quantify the worth of different digital goods. In PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, they have loot crates which will give you clothing that can be sold on the Steam marketplace. So based on how much those clothing are selling for, exactly, this pair of pants is worth $300. So you could put in $10 and get a piece of clothing worth $300. And
that's interesting because that's a secondary market valuing it, right? That's the same thing Counter-Strike has.
Yeah.
And that's where, sites where there's, gambling involved with those items, got into some murky waters. But because of the secondary market, the values are weird, right? They're not necessarily what the studio values those things at. I think of like Overwatch, there's a gold value, which gold is the currency in the game.
Yeah.
Or coins, I think is technically what it is. But you get the coins every once in a while in your loot boxes. Otherwise, you get an item, and it's like, this is worth this much coin. It's 150. And you're like, okay, I know kind of what that value is because I know how often I get 150 coins. Or I know how often I get an item that is worth that much. And so, like, during the Halloween event, the skins, which are, outfits for your characters, essentially, are 3,000 coins in the game. And so that is double what a normal legendary skin would cost. Normally, they're 1,500. And so you kind of get a sense of, okay, the limited ones are worth twice as much, and I know how often I get that currency, and I know what it's actually valued at. And so I know that if I buy $10 in loot boxes, whether or not I got my money's worth out of it, essentially.
Yeah. I've seen people who will do like Twitch streams of them just opening loot boxes.
Yeah.
It is.
That's a.
Yeah, crazy how like this basically pulling the lever, seeing what you get out has become just like, ooh, look what I'm getting out of the machine. Everybody check this out. And in games like Overwatch where it's purely cosmetic, and I think there's definitely like, look at my cool outfit. Who has the coolest outfit in Overwatch is definitely like a thing.
Yeah, and like seasonally appropriate ones or whatever. Yeah.
Like, oh, I really need the Halloween costume for my Zenyatta. Or there's a new costume and whatever.
You do need that.
But for the new Lord of the Rings game, the end game apparently is super hard, and that requires that you have like very good orcs. So you could sit there and try and grind and try and find some legendary orcs, or you could put money into the machine and pull the lever and hope to win the game by paying for it. And there's a multiplayer aspect to that as well, where players can fight other people's fortresses. So there's a pay to win multiplayer aspect, and
that's interesting because I didn't know about that portion of it.
Yeah, at the end you can set up your fortress, and then people can fight your.
So it's like a end game post beating the campaign. You then have like a Clash of Clans style thing going on,
and then apparently there's like a bonus ending to that, which you can always look up on YouTube or whatever. But I mean, there's you could look up any game's cutscenes on YouTube if you really wanted to.
Yeah. I don't completely mind the pay to progress quicker element of the orcs. Like, if someone really wants to, not grind out the game and not play the game, that's, not what I would look for if I bought a game to play a game.
Yeah.
Right? But somebody out there might be like, well, I don't have the time, but I definitely have the money. I'm going to spend this. But it's also kind of like, how often of an occurrence is that? And then you get into the gray area of it's a single player game for the most part.
And
do they cater or change the level of grinding or the amount of grinding because of the boxes, which I don't know. You assume they don't, but also can't not, right? They have to be rare things, otherwise the appeal of the boxes not really there.
They also, you're also paying $60 to even play the game. So, they're if they're trying to push grinding, it sounds like they do push grinding on the ladder section of the game. So you can play the normal campaign or whatever and play it normal, but then the last section will get very grindy for you, which
I played Shadow of Mordor, and it was kind of similar. Like, the mechanics as they were introduced and as it was, developed with learning how to raise your army, basically, and then overtake the different armies in the different locations, it was like, okay, this is actually really grindy, but you're allowed to kind of choose your path, right, and decide where you're going to go, who you're going to infiltrate, who you're going to basically take over and make them become your minion. And so it was lengthy and grindy because it was repetitive, I think.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like you got to choose your own path still a bit, and
there wasn't the original game did not have a loot crate system. There was no,
right.
So at least everybody was on the same path. There was no, and definitely adding in a multiplayer section, which even having like it's interesting they added a multiplayer section to the game at all, which doesn't really seem. I mean, it's kind of cool that like. Oh, I can see what my friends' orcs are like and all that. But it definitely seems like they added that in to push the loot crate system.
Yeah.
And I think...
That might be very true, you know? They might have put that in as a result of the system or, you know, to... Yeah. Give it longevity in that sense.
I think the one that pushes it most is the Battlefront 2, where you will get different upgrades and weapons and stuff that will affect how well you do in multiplayer from loot crates.
Yeah.
Like you can get different weapons and ships, and I can now repair my ship because of a card I got out of a loot crate, which is
right.
Like, and with all of these, you can play the game and get currency to
grind it out. Yeah.
But it's hard to go. I am doing badly. I am not as strong as these other players because they have cards that I don't have.
Yeah.
And I could sit there and lose a lot, and then just hope. And you're getting currency based on getting kills. So if you're not getting kills, you're not getting currency. So
you hope their matchmaking's good then, right? In that case, you got 39 other people on your team. You hopefully only, 2 people on each team are like super OP, and the rest of the people are like you, being, free to play basically after you buy the game.
Hopefully Activision doesn't lend out their patent to EA.
Yeah. No, they'll just sue them after, right? EA will be like, yeah, we use that.
But, yeah, so knowing that you're doing badly because the cards definitely will exploit you, make you more willing or push you to put money in because that's going to be your only way to gain cards that'll make you do better. And then what's sucky is that like, oh, I got a card for the heavy droid, but I don't play him. So gotta put in more money so I can get like there used to be...
I guess it depends the frequency, right?
Yeah.
Of that kind of thing. If it is, like, I'm getting... if I'm getting multiple packs, a play session or whatever, if I'm getting these items frequently enough, it doesn't really matter. And then it's just, these other people want to go spend $100 and buy, to try and get the best things they can get right off the bat. But if I'm getting them frequently enough, even if they affect gameplay, I still feel like I'll be, able to hang with the big guys, I guess.
I mean, it definitely depends on when you come to the game. When you first start, everybody has no cards, but say 3 months in, guys who have been playing all this time have got every card or lots and lots of cards, and then they've got every upgrade and you've got nothing, so you're going to be at a stronger disadvantage. What's interesting is in China they somewhat regulate loot boxes in the sense that anything that has this random chance aspect to it has to say what are your chances of getting each item.
Right.
So
it states the drop rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that needs to happen basically because like I was saying with like Lotto earlier, like scratch tickets.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I would like in a loot box too, to some extent. Is you're likely going to win nothing or your money back on a scratch ticket, but you could win, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, whatever you put in, basically.
Yeah.
And they tell you on the back, these are your chances, right? And it's like a 50% shot you get your money back. And then it's a 25% chance you double your money, and it gets worse and worse. But
yeah,
it just clearly states, this is your chance of winning said prize.
Yeah. That way, if you going to go after the new Zenyatta costume, at least you can go, okay, there's a 1 in 100 chance of this loot crate containing that. At least I know my odds. Instead of just, it's might be as likely, as getting any other costume. Or what's the chances? You're going in blind completely. You're just throwing money and hoping to get something good. And I know in China, some games have in the China stores, they just make it, you want the item, you just straight pay for it because they don't want to disclose that information.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Which that it used to be, hey, you want to get costumes or whatever, you pay for the specific costume, but
here's the $4 price tag. Yeah.
Everybody has gone loot crate, which is, I don't know.
I think in part it's because you can tailor it into the free. You don't have to pay to earn these things, right? You get coins for your activity, you spend the coins, and you get the box, right? And then everybody can do that, but then you can also buy the coins, and you know what it's like already. You've already felt the experience of, I got a crate, and it had something really good. That felt good. I want to do that again.
Oh, yeah.
So you get that angle of it. And then it's also, probably way more lucrative, ultimately, because, it's not a one-to-one drop rate.
Yeah,
like it is with a price tag.
They'll definitely feed you just enough free loot crates to just get you on there. They know the psychology. I mean, Fallout Shelter has lunch boxes, which you can pay for lunch boxes, or you can get them through quests and stuff like that. And I mean, I've gotten really shitty stuff through lunch boxes, and I've gotten really great stuff, and I have not bought any lunch boxes, but I know Darian has been playing the game as well, and she has put in like $20 to the game.
Huh.
Because she had a lot of her people die, so she's like, I'm gonna throw money into lunch boxes so I can get enough money to revive my people.
Huh.
So, and
would
be like, because it's just random, she can't just straight buy money. If she had just got like nothing but energy or weapons, she would have to put in more money so that she.
Oh, okay, yeah, and keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So, are loot crates exploitive?
Overwatch does it well. I think, like a while ago. Back in the first year of Overwatch, they had the first Halloween event came around, and you couldn't purchase directly any of the prizes, right? You had to get them in the loot box.
Yeah.
But by the second or third holiday event, they had it so those items that were limited time all had an explicit price that if you had the amount of coins, you could purchase that thing directly.
Okay, that's really cool.
And those are all, you get coins sometimes in your boxes, but you also, so if you buy loot boxes, you sometimes get coins. That's essentially how the coin system works. So eventually you'll earn coins just from playing the game. So things have a set price, and then the limited items got those prices. They also made an update in the last 6 months at some point where duplicates were a fairly common thing. So it was like, okay, I got a box, and it's, 3 commons, it's 3 whites and a blue, right? Which is like 3 commons and a uncommon or whatever, or rare. And they were likely going to all 4 be duplicate items if you've been playing the game a while.
Yeah.
And they did something where they reworked their system a bit so duplicates are far less likely to drop. And so in the past, however long since that change, even though I'm still getting like emblems and sprays and voice lines, which are probably like the bottom of the barrel as far as the cool stuff you can get, because they're not highlight intros and they're not emotes and they're not character skins. But I'm still getting ones I didn't have, which is ultimately increasing my likelihood that I'll get more that I don't have. like cooler things that I don't have in the future. So like they've rejigged the system multiple times now, and it's gotten a lot better. So I think the way Overwatch does loot boxes, while it's still, exploitive, because it's tapping into the psychology of this feels good,
and that
I want to keep doing that.
Yeah, and it's all that stuff that is all shown off very like highlight video, all that stuff that are like makes you the center of the attention. You want to look the best, so you need to have the cool stuff. I think loot boxes are definitely exploitive. They have been looked at the psychology of how can we get the most money out of it. And I don't think ESRB seems to have come out and basically by them saying it's not gambling, because if it was gambling, they would rate it adults only.
Right. That was the big thing, right? That's what the headline's really about, is we don't want to rate the games all adults only.
Yeah. Which if that was the case, then loot boxes would not be a thing. Nobody would want to be adults only.
Right, everybody would pull out, or game stores, right? GameStop doesn't sell adult-only games or whatever. I remember back with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with the hot coffee mod. Once that was discovered, it went from being a mature game to an adults-only game, and then it wasn't on the shelves anymore or something along those lines. Basically, GameStop doesn't sell those games, so your game isn't available.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's probably some stuff that they could do to make loot crates more fair, but we'll see how that shakes out in the future. Time to get into questions. Do you want to be part of the...
Yeah.
Do you want to be part of the show? Go to readysetgamecast.com/submit to submit a question, comment, or a ghost story for us to read on the show. We had one question sent in from someone named Matt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, weird.
Interesting.
He asks, what is your favorite candy, and how do you feel about candy corn?
That's a good question. This guy sounds smart. I like him.
Are we specifying just Halloween candy or just any candy in general?
I think the original question he wrote said, what's your favorite Halloween candy? But then felt like, he'll open it up, let it be any candy. It doesn't have to be Halloween, because then maybe you're going to get stuck on that.
It's weird that
what's your favorite candy?
It's weird that you know this Matt so well and what they were thinking when writing the question.
I think it's because we share the same name, so there's this connection between us. It's this Matt thing.
Well, my favorite candy is Airhead's Extreme Sour Foose. The frick? I don't know. That sounds like something from Skyrim.
It really does. Sourfoos.
But it's kind of a combination of two candies I already like, which is the Airhead Extreme, the kind of rainbow flavored, and then I don't know what the other one is, but it's kind of all rainbow flavored and has a chewy center, and it's really good. But I don't know. In terms of stuff I'd get when trick-or-treating, probably Reese's is good.
All right, yeah, solid choice. Reese's, yeah.
And I don't...
Yeah, candy corn.
I don't care for candy corn at all. It's...
All right.
How about you?
There you
How
have
about
it.
you, Matt?
So even though I had a Milky Way earlier, or half a Milky Way, I guess, I don't know, they're all in 2-bar packages now. I think my favorite candy is Nutrageous.
How nutrageous of you.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I don't know. Nutrageous. It's got the Reese's, I don't know. It's got the peanut butter, got the peanuts, got the chocolate. It's got the whole package.
Ooh.
Yeah. How do I feel about candy corn? I'll eat it if it's there in a bowl. If it's any more work than that, it's I'm not picking out candy corn at the store ever, or in my trick or treat bag. I'm probably throwing it away. I'm like, this is terrible. But if it's in a bowl, I'm probably gonna eat it.
Okay. The key to getting Matt to eat candy corn is put it in a bowl.
Yeah, it's easy.
Well, that has been this week's Ready Set Gamecast. Go to ReadySetGamecast.com for links to the podcast on all your favorite podcast services, including iTunes,
All of them.
Google Play, and Stitcher, as well as the video version on YouTube. YouTube/Last Geek.
How many podcast services are there?
I don't know. There's like a lot. So there's a bunch that pull from iTunes, but there's Player.
So if you like rate it on iTunes, then a bunch of other ones will pull it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you want to rate on iTunes?
The only two places you can rate it is iTunes and Stitcher. But iTunes is the best place to rate it because a lot of places pull from iTunes.
Okay.
Anyway, speaking of such.
And then you should like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, right? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I think that's what we say.
Click on the bell to get notifications when it goes live.
If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review it on iTunes and Stitcher. It helps us grow and become more powerful. MattAPlays, where can people find you?
Yeah. At MattAPlays on Twitter and Instagram. I don't post very often to Instagram, so you can follow though. I'll appreciate it. I'll be like, wow, I got a notification from Instagram today. But I'm on Twitter fairly regularly. And I'm also on twitch.tv. It's a website /MattAPlays, where I play video games multiple times a week and talk at you and sometimes play with you and sometimes talk to you.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I think that's it. What about you, Bryce?
At Last Geek on Twitter, Last Geek Plays on Instagram, and Last Geek Plays on Twitch. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and have a great 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, all the games are coming out.
Yes.
Have fun with that, all the games. Assassin's Creed, Mario, other games. That's multiple games I named that are coming out. Oh, Stranger Things 2. I can't wait. I'm very excited about Stranger Things 2. I watched 4 episodes yesterday.
Yes. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.